So Matt Rhule, listen, I feel bad. If you come into this league and you don't have a quarterback, I don't care who you are. I mean, you're an offensive coordinator. You somehow won Super Bowls and won a lot of games. You and Andy Reid won a lot of games without superstar quarterbacks. It's very, very rare. But I do think, Brian, I look at Matt Rhule and I think he's a hell of a college coach. That's probably a better fit. I think he deep down probably this morning he may think the same thing. Yeah. So I don't think they're overreacting in Carolina. I don't. Do you?
No, because like you said, I don't know that it's a good fit. Matt Rhule is a good coach. He's proven that time again. And this is not a knock, because there are some coaches that are better in the college environment. There are some college coaches that have thrived and are as good or better in the college game or the pro game, just because of the nature of Matt Rhule and the way he deals with the players. And I think it's great for the college game. I think the pro players probably wore thin with them a little bit. So if you're going to be that way, you got to win. If you do, you can be any way you want.
Right.
But if you don't, then they're going to go, this is kind of this Joe College stuff. I don't know. And you're right. In today's game, if you don't have the quarterback, and it's not like they didn't try. So it's an organizational question as well, not just Matt Rhule. When you went through and you got the trade, picked up the people that you did, and then you got Baker Mayfield trying to solve it. When you had opportunities to try to draft it, which is really what you ought to do when you first come in, you need a quarterback.
Right.
That's the ideal, because if you do it later, then now you're on the hot seat. You're finally bringing a guy. How many games can he win? So the timing of it just didn't work out for Matt Rhule.
Listen, I'm seeing something with Green Bay, and you have to take me in it, because I just don't want to spout off here, but they're not a good second-half team, and they have Aaron Rodgers. And I look at Brian Dable and the Giants, and Brian, they have become a very good second-half team, so they're making adjustments. And I think the difference between college and pro coaching is often that. The really good NFL coaches are terrific in that 15-minute window. You were good at it. Pete Carroll's been great at it. And I watch Green Bay, and I'm flummoxed by it. They just don't score in the second half. What is happening? What are they not doing? Are there limitations? Because I've seen it now 5 games. They're a first-half offense. What is that?
Well, some of it has to do with them still trying to integrate these receivers in. And by that time, you've kind of gotten past your openers. You have it programmed, the old Walshian. Okay, here's the opening sequence on first down. Here's our first, second, medium call. Here's what we do if we get our verticals down in the red zone and when you want to take those shots. Now you get into the second half, and also your ability. I think you alluded to the Giants. I think their strength right now is they're a good, consistent running football team. They're going to stick with that.
Yes.
They had 125 yards rushing the other day. That bodes well for you. You don't have to make a lot of adjustments to that. We're going to continue to run the ball, particularly down in the red zone. So I think that's part of the key. Their consistency. You're not asking a lot of Daniel Jones. He threw it 27 times. Aaron Rodgers, you're going to win with Aaron Rodgers, and they're still with the receiving core, and they're good, solid, but they're not quite clicking yet. Last week they ran the ball very, very well. And dominated the game that way. This time, they didn't counter the running game of the Giants real well, and it fell onto Aaron Rodgers, and they just came up short.
So, listen, I understand analytics in the NBA, 3s and 2s. I get them in baseball. But I push, maybe it's because I love football so much, but this go for it on fourth down when you're at midfield. So the Chargers did it yesterday with Brandon Staley, and my takeaway is, okay, the Browns had no timeouts and a career backup. Punt the ball and make that kid drive 70 yards. I didn't like this at all, even though I love Justin Herbert. Now Cleveland gets 10 yards, they can kick a field goal. Now they missed. But Brian, what do you make of that?
Yeah, the analytics are great if you make them at the right time with longevity on your side, so to speak. I get it. The digit domos that say you're going to, you can get this in a certain percentage of time, go, you're going to win more of that. And I always said, okay, if I'm going it for on a 4th and 2 on my own 30 against the Pittsburgh Steelers, I want that analytics guy standing next to me, so I can point to the guy that made that decision, because it also has to do with the flow of the game. You look at, you have these conversations on your staff. Okay, are we going to go for 2 at the end of the game? What is our fourth down mentality? What's our play calling, and how aggressive do we want to be? Part of it may have been, I'm not making excuses for him, was Cleveland was moving the ball pretty good, particularly in that first half. And they thought, we have a chance to really put this away. To do it where he did it, was aggressive. Now, it turned out for them, but a lot of it has to do with the flow of the game and wondering, okay, if I can prevent this team who had looked pretty good and moved the ball pretty consistently early, if I can put that away, there's some validity to that. But, we say it all the time. It's always through the prism of, if it works, you're a genius. If it didn't, you're the village idiot.
Right. So the NFL is getting, and they've done this, this, the protocols now have changed very quickly post to a concussion. I am for that. I'm for protecting players. I do worry that at the end of games, that's not reviewable. Well, this game's too fast. I mean, if you're talking about quarterbacks and throwing guys out of games, like college has figured it out. They'll review this stuff. The game's too fast. The Brady play yesterday it's got everybody worked up. I like protecting quarterbacks. I just think you should be able to review this puppy. What did you make of that moment?
Yeah, anytime, particularly when it's the hit to the helmet or below, that's real clear cut. But when it's the throwing the quarterback down and the veracity of it, that's always, that hit right there. Typically, how many times you see the quarterback now, and then he bounces his head off the turf, and it's a concussion in the new concussion protocol. He's gone. So that's a tough one. Yeah, on that call in particular, you probably should allow a little bit of review. I don't know that it would have exchanged it. It was that last little impetus that gets you, that they're trying to rule out for the very reasons we talk about the concussion protocol. Brady didn't much like it either, sticking that foot out there at the end.
Yeah.
Reviewing it is probably not a bad idea, but you have to protect these guys. And it can't be, okay, let's protect them, but let's don't do it at the end of the game when the game's on the line because there's too much at stake. No, I mean, you've got to be consistent with the way you're going to call it.
So Lamar, I said this, Burrow and Lamar were both uneven last night, but in the end, the final drive for both quarterbacks was outstanding. I see growth with Lamar. I think he's better at picking up the blitzes now than he was 3 years ago. In fact, Cincinnati twice brought a lot of people. He recognizes it very quickly. I don't think he's Mahomes from the pocket, but I don't think anybody runs like him. Your thoughts on Lamar, his growth? I would have signed him to a contract. I think in this league, Brian, if you can win 75% of your games, I want to protect my coach. I just think that's a good place to be. If we don't win a Super Bowl, even as an owner, I can live with that. What I can't live with is chaos at quarterback and drafting.
Right.
So I would. Where do you look at Lamar and his growth since he's come into the league, in your opinion?
Well, I think he's an MVP caliber player. Now, whether he's actually grown within, you're right, he's not going to beat you from the pocket on a 45 throw day, typically. But that's not who they are. It's that balance. He chipped in close to 60 yards rushing. He's got, if I'm not mistaken, the longest rush of the year in the NFL and the longest completion in the NFL this year. So that's a pretty good combination. I do think they're also wrapping a little more efficiency in the passing game around him. They're doing what he does best, crank off these big runs that we see all the time that no one else in the league can emulate. But they're, rather than just the big strikes down the field, I think they're being a little more efficient with some of the dump offs and some of the littler passes that we're seeing here. So that's a good thing. And I think he is capable of that. But still, at the end of the day, it's this kind of dynamic run that's going to separate him, play good defense. And then what a weapon Justin Tucker is, to know at the end of the game, if I need 3, I really only have to get to the 40 or 45.
Yeah.
That's been their formula for a long time. It's played out well for Baltimore over the years.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.